less than 15 minutes. 8:30 we have to close.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Good evening. Hi. It's my privilege to introduce the man, Mr. K. Rajaraman Sir himself. He is joining in a fireside chat with Pratibha. Just very quickly about Mr. Rajaraman Sir. Mr. Rajaraman is the chairman of the Digital Communications Commission, Secretary Telecom with additional charge as Secretary Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. He's earlier been with the Department of Economic Affairs, and prior to that, he spent some years in Tamil Nadu as the Managing Director of Chennai Metro Railways, overseeing the construction. He's an electronics engineer, an MBA, and a master in economics. And that's, as far as the LinkedIn part of his introduction is concerned. I would specifically want to draw up some, experiences that I've had with him in my past. When he was the Secretary of the Department of Economic Affairs. He is, my impressions about this, about the person. He is authoritative, learned, willing to learn. He's someone who understands the issues involved and is unafraid to take a principled stand or a position on it. He doesn't pull rank. He listens, he learns, and he works on implementing it. We at the Swami Fund spent considerable amount of time with him in the run-up to the introduction of the fund. So, we spent a lot of time with him, discussing, negotiating with him, as he helped us understand the idea of the government's thought process when it was thinking of launching the Swami Fund. That was the time when several notions that we had about how government and bureaucracy functioned were absolutely shattered. We spent several late nights, early morning meetings, including a run-up meeting on Sunday at 9 a.m., just a day or so before the announcement of the fund. On November 6, 2019, the Swami Fund was launched. And after that, we had the good fortune to have him as a partner and as a sponsor as we converted a government policy initiative into an on-the-ground operational unit. He was again hands-on involved in trying to understand our progress, trying to understand how we could progress further, and then, what the government could do as a partner in our progress. To him, we owe our success. He's the man. Over to you, Pratibha.
Thank you, Irfan. Sir, as Irfan has mentioned, you're no stranger to this industry. We've had the pleasure of working with you while you were at DEA, and now you're having these very important ministries, which is METI and the Department of Telecom, which are really going to be the backbone for Digital India, which is basically, again, the backbone for the Prime Minister's $5 trillion economy vision. And I think, we are very lucky that you're in the position to drive policies, reforms in these two important sectors. I believe you've already, in the last few months, been implementing reforms in your current portfolio already. I think more than 70 reform compliances have already been eased. With that background, just wanted to understand what you think is going to be the next stage for Digital India. As a subset of that, do we have enough infrastructure penetration? Is there enough investment in that area?
Thank you, Pratibha, and thank you, Irfan. I think so. Good evening to all the participants. And it's a great privilege to be part of the IVCA event to share some thoughts on some of the issues that the investment industry is very, very glued on. So coming back to what you said, Pratibha, I think the target of the government is to ensure that there is overall growth, even in the face of very significant macroeconomic events like COVID, the Ukraine war, and so on and so forth. So we therefore believe that the most important element of our resilience in the economic growth has been the investment in the infrastructure sector. While there are so many other levers that the government has pulled, the investment in the infrastructure sector has been the most significant element in terms of driving growth forward. India has a huge infrastructure demand. So, and one of which is digital infrastructure. All of you are aware how during the darkest hours of COVID, I think the country continued to function because of a very strong digital backbone, and not only the digital backbone, the overlay of digital financial infrastructure built on the digital backbone had actually served as a very important tool for businesses to continue, for people to continue from transacting from their homes, and so on and so forth. Now, just to take this forward, the Atmanirbhar Bharat announcements, which the Honorable Prime Minister and the Finance Minister piloted in the May of 2020, were all focused largely on infrastructure and, of course, sectoral reforms. Now, if you look at the steps taken as far as digital economy is concerned, the overall our goal to achieve a $5 trillion economy remains. So there, I think the digital services or digital part of the economy will be almost like 20%. I think we expect that what $1 trillion would come from the digital economy. So therefore, there needs to be tremendous investments in strengthening the digital infrastructure. There is a need for actually further ramping up the growth that the IT industry has achieved, and also to look at additional new sectors like the semiconductor industry, the data center and the cloud service infrastructure providers, and so on and so forth. So the focus has been that. On one side, we are also actively investing in the rural areas through this BharatNet project, where I think the process of reaching out fiber to almost like 6 lakh villages from nearly about 1,75,000 at the moment is in process. We also have a data center and cloud policy, data center and cloud policy, which has been published for comments. And we believe that the data center sector would also receive substantial attention because of the simple fact that the digital economy needs a lot of this of this facility within the country to enable the quality of services to go up very significantly. Similarly, I think the government is currently planning to auction spectrum during the current year and to enable launch of 5G services towards the later part of this year. So this would also enable unlocking a new set of use cases which the industry can usefully deploy. Not only the industry, but also other sectors like agriculture, maybe power sector, it could be the transportation sector, etc., etc. I'm sure that all these measures are in sync with the government's policy to actually to impart greater speed and efficiency in the economy. The Prime Minister's Gati Shakti policy, precisely to actually it talks about the need for speed, essentially in all means. I think in terms of decision making, in terms of throughput in the system, and also in terms of reducing the costs of operation. So all these are part of this initiative. So taking that principle forward, I think the Department of Telecommunications also has launched a series of reforms. You also mentioned the reduction in compliances. But on top of that, we are also very keen to reduce the cost of doing business in this sector. I think like the initiative taken by the government in all other sectors as well. So the cost of doing business arises from several layers. One, of course, the license fees, the procedures that actually lead to delays, which actually impose layers of costs on the service providers, and so on and so forth. So therefore, a number of decisions were taken on September 15th of last year, when the cabinet announced some decisions for the telecom sector, where unnecessary bank guarantees were removed, spectrum usage charges have been abolished. Certain the rates of interest have been rationalized. So a lot of these layers of costs have been reduced, and we expect that this effort will keep going forward, because the job is not done as yet. The Honorable Minister for Communication has already announced that the second wave of reforms 2.0, will also is around the corner. In fact, we have set up 2-3 committees to actually look at all those reforms, both in the wireless spectrum allocation, in licensing services, in the standardization, and so on and so forth. So we believe that all that can bear fruit. Finally, one point I would like to touch, because the digital economy is largely driven by services, but we also believe that manufacturing in the telecom sector also is very, very important. And there, one of the most important, jobs that remain to be done is to actually put in place a very strong, support system for Indian domestic companies to actually to develop intellectual property, a new wave of products and services within the country. So therefore, the government has announced now a 5% investment from the Universal Services Obligation Fund. So the amount available in our kitty would be around 500 crores per year ongoing, which will be used for pumping money into the R&D of telecom startups, etc., to develop the next wave of new products for both 5G, 6G, and advanced optical communications, quantum communications, etc. So we believe that all these new budget announcements also will put in place a new wave of technology-led growth, which is necessary for creating jobs in this country. Now over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. And is that the Electronics Development Fund, which is again a fund of funds? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, I mean, the EDF is essentially a fund of funds which participates in the other funds which are called daughter funds and so on and so forth. So far, I think the total targeted corpus of these of about 8 daughter funds was supposed to be 2,176 crores, and the amount committed by the EDF to these 8 daughter funds is about 271 crores as of date. So as on date, EDF has invested about 216 crores in about 8 funds, and therefore these in turn have made investments of nearly about 1,000 crore plus, about 1,100 crores in about 123 ventures and startups. So this is just, I'm sure that there can be more investments if there are, if the uptake of these funds improves. So we'll be very happy to going forward to look at expansion in terms of investing in more funds. Going forward.
That's wonderful, sir. Actually, I actually just realized on the EDF, while looking at your profile, and it's in absolute capable hands now that you've supervised NIF and Swami. But what more can, sir, the PVC industry do to work with you in this sector, and how can we be more inclusive with you in terms of the policy and the lawmaking and ease of doing business process? I know you have to go, so I will let you also make the closing remarks on that, sir.
Yes, thank you. So essentially, if you look at it, there have been a number of very important sunrise sectors that have been thrown up as a part of this budget making process. I mean, one of them is the climate action, because essentially the Prime Minister has announced the net zero target. So which means that every industry, going forward, will need to invest in technology, invest in new ways of doing business to ensure that we get there. So therefore, this is a tremendous opportunity, which cuts across all sectors. And I'm sure that the PE and VC industry has got a big job cut out for them to look at those winners into whom money can be invested to deliver these technological enhancements, which can enable us to get there as far as net zero is concerned. Now the other thing could be, as I already had explained, is deep tech. Because essentially, whether it is a telecommunication sector in 5G, 6G, or quantum communications and so on and so forth, or be it cyber security, which is a very, very important emerging area where I think there's a national security issue, and also there's a need for ensuring that greater business resilience, financial stability. So all these are connected with cyber security. So therefore, there's very important need to invest in shoring up our local businesses, which are increasingly digital. So therefore, we see great potential for PEVC investments in cybersecurity related startups, telecom startups, in terms of the new fabless and design companies which are driving the India's growth into the semiconductor sector. I think so. Therefore, I am sure that the design-linked incentive scheme, which has been announced very recently at a cost of about nearly 76,000 crores, including fabs. I think this will spawn a new range of businesses which the PEVC industry can look at very seriously in investing. Similarly, we have very important sectors like pharmaceuticals, where we have opportunities. I think agri-tech and logistics. I think especially with Gati Shakti around the corner, there will be more requirement for investments in efficiency improvements through technology in logistics, especially to enable greater better faster turnarounds, and maybe reducing the logistic costs and so on and so forth. So there could be many more. In fact, I think the sectors like solar energy, I think where we have a solar energy and hydrogen economy. These are some of the two sectors where I think it is directly related to climate action. So we would expect that there will be tremendous amount of investments happening in the hydrogen economy, because that's the way to go forward. In ensuring that our goals are met, and at the same time, I think there is tremendous possibility for actually going forward to actually get over this issue of cyclic macroeconomic impact because of oil shocks and so on and so forth. So, that is a very important area where I think from strategic perspective that we would need to look at. So, concluding, I would like to say that the focus areas for PEVC, this is something which, in today morning, I think I had an interesting guest, Professor Paul Aragasamy, who is a emeritus professor in Stanford, had dropped in here in the morning. So he is the inventor of a contraption called a MIMO, which goes into all the network equipment. So he was lamenting. In fact, when I think so, this meeting has come in very timely. So he was lamenting that if you go to Cupertino, or maybe I think the West Coast, I think you have, and every street has got some billionaire who want to invest in a tech startup. But he was lamenting that India has still not reached that stage where I think when people are very, very savvy about investing in the new age startups, especially in very difficult areas like semiconductor, maybe material science, and so on and so forth. I'm sure that I may be wrong, because in the sense that there may be many things which probably I am not aware of. But nevertheless, there is a case for us to actually for the PEVC industry to look at early stage companies, a little more positively, in terms of especially those who have the DNA to actually deliver new age technology in any of these areas which we just discussed. So therefore, going forward, I would request that deep tech startups require a lot of attention from the PEVC industry, and I only hope that we will help you in some way. I think I'm sure that our R&D investments that we are going to do in many of these companies is going to probably raise the level of confidence that you have in many of these companies. So I think we can all work together. We would be very happy to collaborate with you in ensuring that we get the money to the right companies which can be the India's champions going forward into 2030 and so on and so forth. So I stop here, and I thank IVCA and the team here for this opportunity, and look forward to a very active collaboration on pushing forward electronics, IT, and telecom startups in a big way into deep tech. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think the government's putting the money behind, the policies that they are, and, the areas they want the investors to be behind. So, just like the infrastructure sector picked up after the government set up NIF, we are hopeful that, with this new policy initiative, we will see the same effect on deep tech. Thank you so much, sir. Sorry, the time got cut short, but as always, it's such a pleasure. I think Gati Shakti is named after you, because I have seen the speed which you, get policies done and changes implemented. So really looking forward to working. The IVC, the whole team is also really looking forward to working with you in this new avatar. Thank you, sir.
Namaskar, Jai Hind.